There's a new nut in town. It's the Pili nut. Actually, it's more like a drupe. It's similar to a coconut in its oil content. And if you see this right here, when you open it up, it's got really nice juicy oils in it. There's so many interesting things that we can do with some of the products out on the market right now. This particular one, we're going to make into a chocolate cream, and we're going to make it into a Mexican chocolate tart. But first we're going to start with the crust, which I call the chocolate graham cracker crust. Okay, which we're going to use some walnuts, which I think have a nice little bite to them for this particular crust, and some coconut sugar. This is a raw coconut palm sugar, and it's really, it literally is a dehydrated coconut palm, and it's so yummy. It's not super sweet, but it gives just the right amount of sweetness. A little bit of Himalayan sea salt. We like the pink stuff. Always use the pink stuff. And some cacao nibs. That's going to give you the chocolate base and some crunch. I'm going to break this down first into a semi-flour. It's not too much, but just enough to kind of break it down. And then we're going to put in some raisins. You can use yellow raisins, you can use the dark raisins, whatever you like. They're all a little different, but you can also use cranberries. We're going to throw these in, and that's going to be the glue that holds and binds us together. All the moisture from the raisins and the sweetness is going to pull it together. Okay, so when we turn this off, we want to reach inside and grab the flour and see if it sticks together. You see how that kind of, I can push it together and it molds? It's getting pretty close. I'm going to break the raisins down just a little bit more. Okay, now we've got the graham cracker crust. You guys have worked with graham cracker crust before, which used to be sweetened, floured graham cracker and butter. There is nothing but superfoods, superpowering your system here. Wonderful, delicious nuts and healthy superfoods. Okay, so put it in a tart pan. A 9-inch round would be great, or a little square one like this. And start by spreading it evenly. And then begin from the inside out, pressing down. You want to make sure that you have a nice thick lip, so when you cut into it, it holds together like a tart. Get those corners tight so they don't collapse when you take them out of the tart pan. There we go. Okay. So here we have the nice tart shell, and then we're going to make the cream filling with the Pili nuts right now. Okay, so the cream filling is really easy, especially with the Pili nuts because there's so much oil in them. They break down into a really creamy texture in a high-speed blender. But we're going to start with some melted coconut oil. Always put your coconut oil in a hot bath to melt it and give it some time. And we want to put liquids in the Vitamix first, along with, we're going to use some maple syrup. You can use agave, you can use honey. The maple syrup really has a nice flavor to it. It's got a lot of minerals in it. It's not a raw product, but it is definitely something that I like to use for my sweeteners. We call this the Mexican chocolate tart, and the only thing that makes it truly Mexican is the cinnamon. I think it gives it a nice bite. Not, on top of that, you've got so many medicinal properties in the cinnamon. It's always nice to stick it in where you can. And the Pili nuts. Simple as that. All right, so we've got this in here. We're going to use our stopper, our pusher. What do you call this thing? Our plunger. We're going to use our plunger in this Vitamix because it's going to get very thick and it's going to need a little bit of help. So take your lid off. Always start on low. Get things rolling. And then increase the speed. Isn't it interesting how it's breaking down and it actually is getting a chocolatey color to it, a chocolatey texture. it takes a little bit of work to break a nut down into a creamy paste. So we're gonna work on this for a little bit. Give it, at least a few minutes. I'm gonna try to do it without the lid on with my spatula. Be very careful if you try this at home, but I'm gonna try to make it roll in a little bit, and we'll get that in sight for you to see. Oh, I love it. Look how creamy and smooth that looks. All right, then we're just going to pour it right into the tart. And I would suggest you put it into the refrigerator to set it up and actually store it there as well, because these oils and the nuts can be very susceptible to temperatures that are too high. Anyway, look how pretty that is. Doesn't that look like just a rich, smooth chocolate tart? And just made out of delicious Pili nuts. All right. Okay, so I'm going to put this in the refrigerator. I'm going to let it set up for about 20 minutes. Then we're going to cut into it and we're going to try it. All right, I just took the tart out of the refrigerator, and we're going to take it out of its tart pan. Just press from below. It's got a removable bottom. There we go. Gotta love these tart pans. And put that down. Now this is a very rich tart, so a small piece will go a long way. See how it's just kind of cutting into it like a creamy, peanut buttery texture. Wow, look at that. Look at that. So, a Mexican chocolate tart made with superfoods. Super powered, super delicious. The crust has a little crunch to it. The cinnamon makes this such a perfect treat. It's so smooth, so rich, so delicious.